Good morning to all
everyone.
of you. My
Morning, sir.
apology that you will be in 1 hour of Vipassana because you will be muted and
Okay,
you
right.
will have to, only practice listening. There won't be any dialogue or interaction. My apology for that. But
That's okay,
whatever
sir.
your pent-up emotions are, you can pour it out on me later. Okay?
Sure.
Outside this program.
Sure.
Hey, Monica, you
Yes,
can
sir,
go
we are-
live now.
So we are live now.
Oh, okay. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you, depending upon the time zones that you are placed in. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you. My gratitude to you for investing in your time, energy, your commitment, your leadership for the good of this society. This particular session is part of, as you see in the background of some of us, 24 hours of reality devoted to creating consciousness, awareness, advocacy, and activism for the crises related to the climate. Recently, the United States General Assembly met, and the Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, the session began with a very, very nice note. Nice on one sense, and maybe not so nice on the other sense. He said that the pandemic, the present COVID-19, is a dress rehearsal for even harder times to come. And he was referring to the harder times alluded to climate crisis. And therefore he said that ultimately how we navigate through the problems will depend upon what choices we make. And therefore he advised the world community through the world leaders in the assembly that we must make our choices very wisely. So climate crisis is such a thing that it has impacted almost every walk of life. And if we do not rise equal to the occasion, it can bring in a very, very severe crisis, a crisis bigger in scale and size and enormity than the present one which we are facing. So this presentation is dedicated to 24 hours of reality. This presentation is dedicated to the man who has led from the front. I'm referring to Vice President Mr. Al Gore, who has led from the front, as I said, trained thousands of men and women all over the world to take climate leadership. And let us listen to him first before I begin my presentation formally. Monica, could you please play the video
Yes, sir.
by Mr. Al Gore? Over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Al Gore, and I want to thank you for joining us today for 24 Hours of Reality, Countdown to the Future. As all of you know, we're living through truly extraordinary times. And if you're like most people, you look at these challenges that we're facing now, the climate crisis getting worse, the COVID-19 pandemic, structural and institutional racism, the challenges to the operations of democracy, and you ask yourself, what can we do? How do we overcome these truly existential threats that are connected, and how do we build together the sustainable future and the just and fair future that we want and deserve? Well, the presentation you're about to hear and the discussion you're about to join is about these questions. Your host is an incredible climate reality leader that I personally have worked with. And through their presentation, you'll learn the science behind the climate crisis and why it is having such a devastating impact on the ecological balance of our planet. You'll also learn how the climate crisis is connected to the COVID-19 pandemic and is connected to the broader injustices and inequities, not only in the US where I'm located, but in places all around the planet. Just as important, you'll learn that we have the solutions, and you'll learn how we can work together to solve these crises, starting with a green recovery and with a just transition to clean energy and the technologies that can make our world better in every way. You'll learn what you personally can do to make a difference and to help us create the future that we want and that humanity deserves. So before I hand you back to your host, I want to say one other thing. Thank you for being a part of this global conversation. The truth of our circumstances is very clear. We have to solve the climate crisis, and we have the solutions we need today. I know that we can solve the climate crisis. We have the political will. You know it's a renewable resource, but it's really because of people like you who are ready to commit the time and energy and attention and stand up and fight for a better world. Because of you, I know that we will succeed. Thank you.
Yeah. Monica, the first slide,
Yes,
please.
sir.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, once again, and let us all put our hands together for the inspiring leadership of Mr. Al Gore. And you saw his message, you listened to it. And now I'll begin my presentation. Next slide, Monica. You will not be able to talk, but nothing stops you from using your Twitter account. And you may please tweet using the hashtags and tags which you see on the screen. Next slide. So do you see this beautiful picture? This is how magnificent, serene, attractive Earth looks like. And this is a picture from Apollo 17. Next. Next, Monica. And
Yes.
so this is what is happening. A little bit of science here, but not a very difficult or a rocket science. You see the solar radiations are coming here to the Earth. And next slide shows what happens to this. Next slide. And most of this radiation is absorbed by the Earth and it warms the Earth. But next. Some energy is radiated back into the space by the Earth in the form of infrared waves. This is the basic science which even the primary children know about it. Next. And some of this ongoing infrared radiation is trapped by the Earth's atmosphere and it starts warming it. Next. And as a result of that, we are into what we call global warming. And that pollutes the thin shell of our atmosphere. Every 24 hours, we are putting in 152 million tons. And what is the result of that? Next. And these are some of the sources before we come to the disastrous impact of that global warming. And you can see on your screen, you can also identify the culprits here, the coal mining, the coal plants, industrial processes, landfills, the forest burning, oil production, the air transport, all those things, are becoming the sources of that, what we call the greenhouse blanket, which is warming the Earth. Next. And the largest source of this, all that, the previous slide you saw about 7 or 8 major sources of those pollutants. But here you see the burning of the fossil fuel. And this statistic shows that between 1850 and 2019, it has gone from 2 billion metric tons of carbon to 5 times 10 billion metric tons of carbon into the atmosphere. Next. And as a result of that, the global surface temperature, and look at this between 1880 to 1930, you see it was in the minus, and then little bit of fluctuation between plus and minus. And since 1980 to 2020, you see the disastrous impact of global surface temperature departure from the average has gone to 1 degree. That is the impact of it. Next. And that has caused 93% of that extra heat being trapped by the man-made global warming. Pollution goes. Now, we think that only the Earth's surface is heated up and all that, but almost entire heat, 93%, is going into the ocean. And how it is disturbing the ocean ecology is something that we'll see in the next slides. Next. The ocean temperature set a new record in 2019. You see this again? This data is from 1940 to 2020, and this average has gone to the red figure that you see. That is the current state of the heat that is entering forcibly into our oceans. Next. As temperatures increase, the oceans evaporate more moisture into the sky. And that cycle, the same extra heat that evaporates more water, okay, click what? Next. This is the hydrological cycle you see here. And then the evaporation, the precipitation, water returning to the sea, and this cycle has become very violent. It is not that normal cycle that we expect it to happen. And what happens as a result of that is next. That globally, the floods and extreme rainfall events now occur 4 times more often than it used to occur in 1980. So just imagine in a short period of 4 decades, the ferocity with which the floods and cyclones, rainfalls, the cloud bursts are taking place has put almost humanity into danger. Some of the images may be disturbing, but that is what is happening. Next. The gravest effects of all attacks on the environment are suffered by the poorest. Now, that is the most tragic part of that. Of course, everybody suffers. The rich also suffer, and the poor too. But the gravest effect, His Holiness Pope Francis said once, of all attacks on the environment are suffered by the poorest. And let us see next. Do you see this? In Bangladesh, the Sundarban is getting finished. All our crops, even our trees, have been destroyed. What will we do? One citizen of Bangladesh is the farmer, and that is what he is wondering. This is the impact of that. If I recall, global warming, the 93% heating the oceans, then the hydrological cycle getting disturbed, and this floods and rains, and those calamities are disturbing humanity in such a big way. Next. This is another image, and this is much more familiar. We all are into it. The cyclone evacuation camp, Odisha. This is a picture as recent as May 19, 2020. And Satyanarayan Pradhan, Chief of India's National Disaster Response Force, said, we are facing a dual challenge of cyclone in the time of COVID-19. So see how both of them are connected to each other. Next. This is Assam's picture. This is as recent as July 17. Nearly 4 million people in India and Nepal have been displaced by flooding and mudslides. Next. So I think by now you have a reasonable confidence to accept that climate change is a medical emergency. I think there is no doubt about it. Next. We now risk losing up to 50% of all land-based species in this century as a result of this climate crisis. Next. This carbon accumulation, as you see on the slide, this is the cost that we are going to pay. Of course, the political instability, the foremost, floods, wildfires, droughts, storm, ocean acidification, infrastructure loss, climate refugees, the human suffering, species extinction. You saw one image, melting of glaciers, famine, water scarcity, ecosystem loss, our way of life getting totally punctured, infectious diseases, and sea level rise. So these are, and much, much more. Next. So number one threat to global economy is the manifestation. You could see that. And therefore, we are up to three questions. Must we change in the light of what we have seen? I think you must be convinced that yes, we must change. So this question, I think we have already answered, or we must be mulling over it. Must we change? Does it really remain a question now? Or we should say always, we must change. The second question is, can we change? And the third is, will we change? So let us see how we go about answering these questions. Next. So must we change? I think all the viewers here must be convinced, yes, we must change. Let us see about the next two questions. Can we change? We have the solutions at hand. And what are the solutions? Let us see these two projections here. Our projection in 2000 was that the worldwide wind capacity will reach 30 gigawatt by 2010. And by 2019, the goal has already exceeded by a factor of 22 times. Now, what could be more encouraging than this? The solar energy projection, likewise, the solar energy market will grow 1 gigawatt per year by 2010. And the reality is that goal has exceeded by 17 times already. Next. And in 2019, it has exceeded by 121 times. That is only about solar one. And the result of that has that between 1980 and 2019, you see that we have installed solar photovoltaic cells to the tune of from 100 to 700 gigawatts worth of solar energy being produced. So this has already happened. Next. And as a result of that, if you see the opposite of it, between 1976, what used to be almost $80 per watt cost of installation has come down to less than half a dollar per watt. So you see, on one hand, as it also suggests that as we go on increasing our capacities, probably the cost will also go on reducing exponentially. Next. And this is a known fact. This, I learned it as a school science student. Enough solar energy reaches Earth every hour to fill all the world's energy needs for a full year. As a child, I could never fathom what it really means. So can we change? That is the question. Can we really change? I think answer is going to be yes. And the third is, will we change? So in the 2015 Paris Agreement, every nation in the world agreed to work together to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by the mid-century, that is 2050. In other words, another 3 decades or so. And I think all the nations are working There was some concerns from the Americans because they threatened to withdraw from it. But I think a good news is coming from there as well. Next. The US cannot legally withdraw until the day after the 2020 presidential elections. So let us hold till then and assume that nothing untoward will happen. Over 240 global companies have made a commitment to go 100% renewable. I think that's a great promise, and that holds a lot of positive impact for the trade, for the business, for the economy, and for the lifestyles of the people. Next. Now, these are those companies who have promised to go 100% renewable. May I just do an attendance check quickly for all of you? Could you in the chat box please write if you can identify some of the Indian companies here who have promised to go renewable from this list? If you can identify any, I will give a minute. You can just write the name of that company. Some of them you might get confused. They look like Indian company because they have been here even before we were born, but they may be multinational in nature, but I will understand it. Yes, so I think the most obvious first choice is Tata Motors. I must confess that I may not say with certainty that all your answers are correct or not. But the 2 or 3 answers which have come appear to be correct. Infosys, Tata Motors, and so yeah, that's fine. Come on, yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of the companies, they may be multinational in nature, but they have a huge, significant footprint in India as well. So that's fine. That's fantastic. Thank you for participating. And it appears that you are with us. You are in the sync. And you are very, very active. Thank you very much. Next slide, Monica. And therefore, the appeal is join those who are using their voices, their votes, their choices to fight for their future, their community, and their world. I think that is something very, very important, because if the tribe increases, it becomes strengthened, it becomes stronger, and the voices become more noisy, it will become more significant. People will take note of it. Our votes, how much they count, and whether we can bring climate crisis into the center of political agenda, and the personal choices that we make for ourselves, for our communities, for our children. I think that is going to make a lot of difference. Next. And therefore, again, like your world depends on it. You see, we are very passionate about certain things, and for that we want to take any step. We want to take any initiative. We talk to people. We spread the message. We go to social media, and we have to address it to the people who matter, the people who are in the decision making, the people who really can make a change. And therefore, the climate crisis is also one such agenda where we have to use our voice. We have to make good use of the right to vote that we have, and we have to make our choices very, very judiciously. So that is something which is very, very important. To speak truth to power. I think most of the campaigns in the world, they originate from this particular slogan that if there is an injustice, if there is something which needs to be changed, if there is something which people have to campaign about, I think we have to reach the highest authority who is in power, who is in a position to take a decision, and who is in a position to influence the decisions of others. So And when we do it, only when we think that it is a question of life and death for us, like your world depends on it. That is what is the more important thing. So, so that is the appeal. That is the whole appeal of this campaign from the climate reality. Yeah, next. Monica. So your world depends on it. So this is the world that we all live in, and that is why the three questions that we raised, you know, must we change? Can we change? You know, so we must change, we can change, and for that there is evidence that by tweaking our lifestyle and by tweaking our choices, I think there is a huge possibility that we can make the change. Yeah. Next. Next. Yeah. Bring that slide, please, Monica. Yeah. So what do you have to do now is, first of all, that please visit 24hoursofreality.org. If you can type it in your browser and visit it, and you have to fill in all the details of your location, your particulars. The Climate Reality Project will ensure that a plant is planted in your name. Okay, you have to take action in India. In India, there is Climate Reality Project group. The young people need the tools to face this threat and thrive in a challenging future. You have to encourage local schools and colleges to request a presentation from the trained climate reality leaders. If you go to that, you will find there is a climate reality hub where you can find the list of climate leaders. I am very happy to announce to this particular group that two more of my colleagues here, Sunita Rajiv and Kuhu Ganguly, they are also the trained climate reality leaders. They have also started giving their presentations. I'm sure their efforts will scale up in times to come. They can also be approached. Our strategy is that we will first take it to within our own school community, to our students, to our parents, and then we will take it out to other schools. We will take it out to the community. We'll take it out to the people who are influencers. So for example, I could not see anybody else, but we will just open the window and people can come and give their suggestions. But the two great influencers are already here within this group. One is Mr. Malekar, who is the chief priest and general secretary of the synagogue here in Delhi. And he has been blessing this project for a very, very long time. And I'm sure he will help us in organizing a community gathering where this presentation can be given, where a discussion can be started, and through a dialogue, we can take this message forward to the larger and deeper extent of the community. The other influencer present in this group is Ms. Mari Ilangovin, a performer, a cultural ambassador, someone who has embraced India for a very, very long time. And she has given a lot of presentations at the platform of United Nations on climate reality, on gender equality, on other issues related to the inequalities in our society. I will make a personal request and appeal to her also that with her help and with her contacts and with her reach in this society, can we influence people to make their choices very wise, and can they do something to take this message forward? So this is what this short presentation is all about. We will open the window now, and you can type your questions in the chat box. We will try and answer it as much as we can, and then we can see if a couple of questions people can come forward and ask. And more than asking questions, my request to all of you would be that if you can pledge your support, if you can pledge that yes, you would be willing to be part of this campaign, and if you have some ideas through which this message can be taken to the farthest corners of this country and abroad. Thank you very much for your time, for your patience, and for your commitment. Thank you very much. I hope all of you have been able to type. Monica, can you type this link in the chat box?
Yes, sir. Already done, sir.
You have done it? All right. So if you can stop sharing the screen, we can have some communication.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please use the chat box for the questions that you may have and for the pledges that you are making to spread this message. Okay. Thank you very much. Ms. Mari Ilangovan, are you still there? Can you take her in the speaker's view, Monica?
Yes,
Ms.
sir.
Mari Ilangovan, can you raise your hand, ma'am?
Yeah, yes, sir. She's here.
May I request her to say a few words?
Ma'am, you are muted.
Yeah, you can unmute her if you can.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
It's been quite a few years. I'm not very good in dates and time, but it was over 10 years back, I think, that we worked on a piece on climate change to develop awareness towards climate change. And I did it first as my own initiative. So my husband had composed a piece called Nadiye, which is the story of the perennial river. And through the perennial river, we see how the climate change is manifested. So it could be through drought, through water pollution. It could be through a cyclone. It could be, so the many faces of the climate change was manifested through the story of the perennial river. So that was composed in Tamil initially. And I did out of my own initiative, that is, we had no sponsor whatsoever, but we believed that we had to speak about it. And we staged it at Triveni Kalasangam long time back to the title of a program which was called Save the Hurt. That was a piece part of the program called Save the Hurt. So to our good fortune, we had a student father who was working at WHO Delhi, and he invited the person there. There was a person in charge there of the climate change department, or whoever was working on that. So that person graced the program as our chief guest. So he was so happy and so impressed with the medium as the dance medium to showcase all the effects of climate change, and he thought it would be a great tool to sensibilize people and bring awareness towards climate change at school level and otherwise also. So he asked us to rework the piece according to the WHO guidelines, which were very specific at that time, and incorporate few more elements to it also. So the original piece, which is in Tamil, was re-recorded, and all subtitles were made in English, so that as the story flows, people can also read the subtitle.
Okay.
So this was used as a tool to sensibilize people, towards the negative effects of climate change, and it was widely circulated, and it's still there, like in the archives of WHO and all that. So following that, there was again a delegation from WHO who went there was a United Nations Framework Convention in Poland. So they asked us if they could show the video because they thought it was so relevant. And then that was also shown as part of a conference and all that. So all that started with a very small conviction from my side, my husband's side, thinking we should do something for it. And because we are artists, we could create something meaningful out of it. And then it was immediately picked up by people who are really into a position where they could bring it to a larger platform. And this is what happened. And this issue is very close to our heart till today, because I think that all of us, as a citizen of the world, we are responsible to nurture some amount of preoccupation towards this issue, which is climate change. And we have to do whatever we can to bring more awareness and changes, because everything starts with what we have in mind. So we have to have convictions and understanding that, yes, we can do something, as Mr. Pandey proved today through the presentation, which was brilliant. It was to the point, and it was absolutely well, structured. I really enjoyed his presentation. And it was up to date, which is great, because sometimes we see a presentation which has been already worked on a few years back, but now we have exactly the numbers and the values of 2020, which was making it all the more relevant for us today. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much. As usual, you are a great source of inspiration. And I think that whenever you speak something, it just stays with us. So I think this is a quality that you have. You embody convictions, intelligence, and, because of your great a love for the word and for the life and for, for everyone, not only as an educator and a distinguished principal, but you always consider the poor and those who are in needs, and how we can give a better life to everyone on earth, no matter what is the social status. So that I really appreciate this quality of compassion that you have.
Thank you, ma'am, for your very kind words and the information that you have given about your work. And I'm having that agenda in my mind that we will approach you to extend that work and probably give a greater weightage to this particular campaign. So thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you for your time. Mr. Malekar, are you there, sir? Malekar, sir, are you there? Monica, can you
Yes, sir.
spot
Yes,
him
I'm
and
just-
unmute him so that we can take his blessings?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So he's here only, and he's.
Yeah.
Malekar, sir?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, please, could you bless the entire community, sir, here for 2 minutes
Yeah.
and lend your support to us?
Yes. First of all, I am very much enlightened by your speech. It was so informative, and really it is an eye opener for everyone. And I would like to tell you that I always say, if there would be a third war, it will not be for the sake of oil or for the nuclear weapon, but it will be for the sake of water.
Yes.
Because Jal Jeevan hai. We forgot
Ji.
that very concept, what you have been talking about. And thank you very much, because you are the great supporter of the Sustainable Development Goals. This is one of the targets. And so I'm very happy. And I would like to tell you that in Judaism, we celebrate a festival called Tubi Shivat. We celebrate birthday of the trees.
Okay.
And every year, and for your kind information, Israel's population is 8 millions. And at least 4 million people, they will go and they will plant a sapling on this very day. Because, and it's very, very important. And we have a ceremony in Judaism called Bat Mitzvah at the age of 12. When the girl attains the age of puberty, she is morally and ethically adult. She has to go and plant a sapling. And when she gets married after 20 years, 25 years, the leaves and fruit of that tree is being used to decorate the canopy under which her marriage takes place. So it is very
My
important
God.
in Judaism, because Judaism teaches that the earth is the Lord's property, and people are the partners and co-workers with God to protect it. The Bible is full of awareness and appreciation of nature. And when God created the world, Bible tells us he made order out of primal chaos. the sun, the moon, and the stars, plants and animals, and ultimately man. Because God created man on the sixth day, and he handed over the entire universe to the man, that you are the custodians. You have to take care of the universe. But unfortunately, sir, that instead of being a protector of the environment, about the ecology, for the sake of development and the prosperity and progress, we have become the destroyers of the nature.
Yes.
And if you'll kindly permit me, I would like to tell you a very small incident. Uh, at that time, Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma, President of India, he was the president at that time. This Bhopal gas tragedy took place. And at that time, I remember he sent a team to Bhopal to find out why the nearby colony of the Bhopal gas tragedy, that factory, they were not affected. Whereas the people living about 10 kilometers, they have been affected by this gas tragedy. Why the nearby colonies were not affected? People were hale and hearty. And he could find out that the nearby areas of that factory were covered by the neem trees.
Oh,
Entire area was covered by the neem trees. As a result, no one has suffered any bad effects of that gas tragedy. So this is very important, that tree has not fulfilled itself until it can provide shade, give fruit, or to be value to others. In fact, the tree attains a measure of immorality when it can scatter its seeds throughout the world, and thus make sure what it has created will be implanted in the time to continue to produce. And my message is, people can be both protector and destroyers of the environment. We all are passengers together in the same fragile and glorious world. Let us safeguard our rowboat and let us row together. Let us save our all living creatures from the untold mystery of our making, and leave them with an earth restored to full variety, beauty, and abundance, because everyone has a duty to resist development, which degrades the earth and the people living in harmony with what? Everyone has a duty to safeguard the resources of the earth for the benefit of the present and future generations of life. Thank you very much for
Thank you,
giving me
sir.
an opportunity.
Thank you for your
Because sir,
blessings.
all the religions, this strictly, you must protect the nature, ecology, the water we are using it, especially water. I'm more concerned about how we are using. We are going to the washroom, we are wasting the water in our toilet. How the water has to be saved, because every drop of water in Israel is like very precious. So my request to every one of you, that जल को जीवन मानिए, जो वृक्ष है उनकी रक्षा कीजिए. अगर वृक्षों की रक्षा करोगे तो ये सुनामी, ये जो फ्लड, अभी you see so many trees are being in Delhi also, without any consideration, just for the road widening, they are cutting the trees. So it is very sad. We must protect. It is our moral duty, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your very profound message, sir, as usual, and your anecdotes and your experiences. And you said that jal hi jeevan hai, पेड़ों की रक्षा करते रहिए. उसमें मैं I want to add, and Mr. Ravi Malekar का आशीर्वाद लेते रहिए. So that will keep our sadbuddhi intact, and we will only indulge in good things. Thank you very much,
It is
sir.
eternal, sir. It is
Thank you.
eternal for you
Thank
and for
you,
the
sir.
Alcon International School and for
Thank
the
you.
Alcon School also, sir.
Yeah. So now I have 3 or 4 people in mind, and I'll request them to be in readiness as I respectfully call out their names. Sunita, Rajiv, and Kuhu, you have to say 1 minute your experience of climate reality leadership training. Be ready. I can see my very, very favorite and promising student, Sachi Grover. So you also be ready. And Sanjay, I hope you are there. You also have to speak for 2 minutes. Dr. Deepak, are you there? Then you can indicate, you just write in the chat box if you're available. And Anjali Malik, principal of JP Academy, if you are there, I'll request you also to speak for a minute. Now we have got just about 14 minutes. And I would like to hear these people whose names I have mentioned. So Sachi, would you like to go now? Are you ready, or you will take some time? Unmute yourself. Or Monica, you can unmute
Yes,
her.
yes. Yes, sir.
Because Sachi is the actual future leader. I think she must say something. Yes, Sachi, go ahead. We can't hear Sachi. She's unmuted though.
Lulu, sir. Yes.
Why
Sir,
can't we
am
hear?
I audible now?
Yeah, now you are audible. Please go ahead, Sachi.
Sir, can I take 2 to 3 minutes?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
You are
No,
the
sir,
future leader.
can I speak after 2 to 3 minutes?
Okay, okay. All right. So Sunita Rajiv, your experience of climate reality leadership.
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Kuhu, you be ready next, please. Yeah, Sunita.
Yes, sir. So with your permission, sir, so I want to tell the whole world that we were inducted into Sustainable Development Goal by our director, Sir Ashok sir. And earlier than that, we had no clue about that. And that road actually led to this new turning, which was climate reality. From August 28 to 3rd October, we underwent, I along with my 3 other colleagues from Alcon family, Kuhu Ganguly, Sanjana, and Swati Kulkarni. 4 of us were there in the entire team, and we were trained by Ms. Rekha Lalla. And this entire group, the first part of the training would be the presentation by Al Gore sir. And then after that, we would have table work, discussion, chats, because how we can contextualize it to the contemporary locations, to the problems we are facing in India, and then what was the action they needed. So collaboratively coming towards, finding solutions to the problem, how to motivate and sensitize. And by the blessings of sir, I've been now able to shape myself as a good public speaker. So that is where I was able to cover, sir, more than 300 students and parents just in the span of yesterday in the 3 sessions, which I took in 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. So spacing it in a way so that I'm able to reach out, speak to them, take their inputs, and listen to the thoughts of children, because they are the ones who are going to make the earth that blue, beautiful marble, which was shown by you in the second slide. So that is the rejuvenation which will be brought by the youth. We are youth together. We have joined hands. And the best part is that parent community is actually giving us great, great support. So all the people here would just, really second my thought that we are getting good support from our community, and students have bouquets of ideas how to bring the change, because they are the ones who are going to correct us. The adults,
Thank you.
Right, sir.
Thank you, Sunita. Thank you very much. Yeah, Kuhu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So as Rita ma'am has talked about our training session, we never anticipated what we were going in for, but definitely that opened up a whole new world to us. Adding to what all she said, I would like to comment that we had a group of people and from various walks of life, and you could see that such accomplished people were there in the group. because we felt that we as a school were doing a lot by initiating the thought amongst the children. We were able to, motivate around 200, 300 children per year. But if you look at the kind of work being done by other participants, it was just amazing. And people from all walks of life. There were models. There was a person from Germany who works in India for a year, who comes to India, stays here for 2 years for surveys. He stays in an ashram and works for the climate, and then goes back to Germany, works for 1 year to earn to sustain himself in India. So that is the kind of passion you have people around, and that is what motivates you, that you are somewhere people have done so much and there's so much more to do. Apart from it, one more point that came to my mind is that we were thinking in one direction. We thought that solar panels are a good sustainable way of generating energy. But then somebody pointed out that even the solar panels, in order to lower the cost, the material used is something which is again causing destruction to the climate. If we talk about Atal Tunnel is something we are very proud of being created. But then we have created so many dams, but we have to see the balance between the two, that if we are creating so many, we should not be, damaging or weakening our ecosystem.
Absolutely.
That balance should be there. So these were some of the ideologies, some of the thought processes which were initiated in these workshops. So really grateful. Thank you, Ashok. Thank you very much for putting us into it.
All right. So, Anjali Malik, Amit, I can see you also, and you will have to speak for a minute later. Anjali, please come in for a minute.
Yes, sir. Very good afternoon, and let me first compliment you for this wonderful and informative talk. And it's all about initiating the process, and I appreciate your leadership. So I think as a school, JP Public School is doing a lot of efforts through morning assemblies, through events, through various exhibitions, functions. I mean, the discussions that we initiate with students about sustainable development goals, and then how conservation of air, water, land, everything is important. And as you rightly said, that this was just a glimpse of the climate change that we have faced in COVID-19. I mean, times to come will be harder times. So it was just a preparation which will actually help us. If we are really aware, I think we can do a lot, because you nicely covered up what is it that we can do. There is so much. So every small bit of work that we can do in this direction adds like it's a drop to the ocean. And of course, we can all together bring a difference if we take these small steps. So I heartily compliment you for this. And I would definitely speak to you in detail about it, how our teachers can also join this kind of program and training. So all marks to you for
you have been a very, very fantastic leader. I'm sure you will take it forward. Yeah, Amit, can you please come in? Amit Singh is the principal of Sapphire School in Ranchi.
Good afternoon, sir.
Just your thoughts for a minute or so. Yeah, Amit, go ahead.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing me in. I was listening to sir and his story on how a girl child plants a tree, and then when she gets married, and then the same trees, leaves and all are used. And early morning, I was introspecting. I will start with I, and then I will come to the school, because charity begins at home. So I was reading this concept of ikigai, that the Japan thing, that if why you are on planet Earth, you need to figure it out. That why component, the fifth factor, that why I'm on planet Earth. So as an individual, what is that I'm contributing, and what is that I'm going to leave behind for my own kids? Right. So that's a big question mark, and I need to justify, I need to give answer to that particular question. So yes, as an individual, I need to take care of my earth. Now, as an educationist, the role becomes bigger, because if we don't change, and if we are in direct touch with our student community and we shape them. So how we are going to shape them, that will decide not only their future, that will decide the future of planet Earth. So it's high time that we take this up very, very sincerely and seriously. And in times to come, we are doing our bit, but yes, a lot more can be done. It's like I'm like a frog in the well, and there's a big ocean. So with your guidance, sir, and with people like what I have heard from people around, a lot to be learned, and definitely yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit. Thanks a lot. So now we have got 5 minutes more. Sanjay, you please come in for 2 minutes, and then we will conclude the program with Sachi's 3 minutes. Sachi,
All right,
you're
sir.
ready, I believe now. Yeah. Yeah,
So-
Sanjay, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Just 2-3 thoughts here. Of course, it was great listening to everyone and their resolution to bring action with concrete efforts. That is what is required, and we all need to do. What I feel is that the way scientific facts were presented while discussing, so everybody needs to basically build that scientific temperament. You don't have to be a science student, but that temperament is something which will bring in innovation, which will bring in solutions, and with our children taking the lead, I'm sure that they will be able to work on solutions, because what is most significant is to bring in practical and achievable solutions. Progress is bound to happen. Destruction is happening. We have been witnessing it. So how can that be compensated to maintain that ecological balance and to keep this planet fit for people to live in it? That is where the thought and actions are required. And of course, as Malekar sir was talking about the essential significance of water and other elements which are present, we need to conserve, we need to preserve and focus on need. So one last message for everyone, that in our day-to-day life we are using many things, rather we accumulate many things. So please start giving it a thought that how many things we are not actually using, and for the sake of accumulation we buy them or we keep them. Can we do without them? And let us try to learn with live with minimum, so that there is a good balance which can be maintained. I'm sure it will make every drop fills in the ocean, so it will make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjay. Yeah, Sachi. Sachi Grover, can you come in now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, great. Yeah, yeah, go
Good
ahead.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, sir, for making me a part of this informative presentation. So, from COVID-19 pandemic, we have learned that nature is capable of healing itself very quickly. So, an important lesson from me from this pandemic is to lower our interference with nature and sometimes let it take its own course. Like we saw that Yamuna River is getting cleaned on its own when human activities were on hold. This shows that if we find out newer ways of waste disposal and other such activities, it would be safer for us. So we should find out new ways, solutions, so that we can help Mother Earth replenish on its own, and that will be easier as well as beneficial for us. And thank you, sir, for inspiring us to do these things. And I would also like to thank Sunita ma'am for taking yesterday's workshop. And I pledge that I will be inspired from you all, and I will be a climate change leader and will work forward for our mother. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sachi. Dr. Deepak, are you in?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Yes, I am in.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
thank
Your
you so
message.
very much for this presentation, sir. I've been like, I feel privileged to be the part of this presentation. And as a school leader, like, there are 5-6 areas I'm working on right now. So amongst the leadership, the social outreach, co-curricular, and the academic, there is one area, like, that is environmental stewardness we are working on as a school. And we have also included the SDG in our curriculum. We have incorporated that as well. And as an activity last year, our students have tied Rakhi to these plants. So these kind of program we are having at the school to sensitize all the young children as well as the staff members. And at personal front, like I would like to share my personal story. In my village in Uttarakhand, people used to use wood as a fuel. So we had actually a campaign there sensitizing people and encouraging them for using the natural gas instead of. So many people were encouraged, and they have started doing, using natural gas as a fuel instead of cutting down the forest. And so that is a thing. And another thing we have initiated in Uttaranchal, cleaning up the forest areas and vanning and encouraging people, picking up the garbage from the tourist places and encouraging, putting up the slogans and writing articles like not to throw rubbish and things. So that initiative with young adults I have taken at my personal front, and I'm sure the program like this will encourage people from across the world to come together, join hands, and save the environment. Once again, thank you so very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Deepak, and special thanks to you. You are the only person who could use technology and commitment to be in even while you are traveling. So I believe you are somewhere between Alwar and Delhi, and
Yes,
still you could be part of it. So thank you very much. And thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the close. I would have loved to listen to each one of you. I'm just switching the frames to see who all are here. I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of it. I hope you will take some messages, some personal sensitivities and commitment to make good choices for you and the communities that you influence. Thank you very much. Once again, we have come to an end of this 1 hour presentation, followed by a discussion and experience sharing as part of 24 hours of climate reality. May I request you once again to fill up that form on that website which was shared with you. You never know, you could be owner of a plant as suggested by the Climate Reality Group. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you, Mr. Algor, for your leadership. Thank you, Climate Reality. Thank you, Climate Reality Project, and all of you once again. Thank you very much.